and welcome to Fireside Chat's first live show. I'm Leslie with Good to Go Survival and Prep, along with my co-host Kirsten from Survival Betty. We want to thank you for being here and hope you enjoy the show. And then if you're catching us on the replay, we want to thank you for watching. Just a quick reminder, if you are watching us live and you want to ask any questions or post any comments, you're going to need to give StreamYard permission to see the Facebook comment. Otherwise, we won't see it. There is a link at the top of the group page, so just click on that and allow permissions. And then also, speaking of StreamYard, excellent find on this platform, Kirsten. That's just really awesome. I love it. So,
all right.
Real quick, let's do a recap for those that aren't familiar with how we got this started and what we're doing and where we're going with it.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay. Yeah.
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
I'm going to take out my earbuds because it feels like it creates more problems than it actually solves. But yeah, so I'm so excited that we're able to do this today. It's been a long time coming, thanks to COVID, kind of interrupting our plans. But the nice thing about this channel is that it is a little different than Survival Betty and a little different than your channel at Good to Go, where we've kind of collabed and come together to create something that is a little bit unique and has been, like I said, a long time coming. Unfortunately, with the COVID, it's kind of the focus of real world, common sense, practical preparedness that anybody can do regardless of where they're at and what situation they're in life. And that's the exciting thing, because I think we need that right now.
Yeah, definitely. And, there's just in this whole realm of, preparedness and all that kind of stuff, there's just so many different schools of thought out there. And, some of them kind of go off the rails. I mean, not to, down anybody, but, you get into the weeds of, building bunkers and, bug out vehicles and that kind of stuff. And that's just not, that's not what we're really dealing with on a regular basis.
No, I would say that, I don't know about you, but the majority of people that I know that are interested in preparedness, they're not sitting in missile silos up top 100-year supply of freeze-dried food, prepared at any second to drink their own urine. That's just not where we're at.
It's crazy. So, and that type of content really gets pushed out to the forefront, and just want to bring a little more reasonable approach and voice to the whole concept of preparedness, because it's that's what 99.9% of the people are going to be dealing with is that, and not, like you said, a missile silo somewhere.
No, everyday preparedness, and that's huge. And we actually came together to start this collaboration back in, I want to say it was January. It could have been February. I still had my Christmas tree up, so it could have been February. But I know we started it early in the year, and then right about the time we were scheduling to come together to produce our first video, COVID hit, and it completely derailed everything. And just like every other business, we've kind of had to be resourceful in how we're going to make this work and find avenues like StreamYard, for example, that would help us get more practical preparedness information out to people. So,
I had done all this research because, the camera equipment that I had really wasn't going to be sufficient. And so I did all this research and I found a platform that I wanted to go with. And then, boom, I go to start ordering stuff and it's just not available because nothing's available. So I had to start all over again and, research alternative equipment to use. And man, it really just put it back, because I think we promised to have everything going by March. Yeah. And, here we are. And just now going like, oh, what do we do?
Right. Yeah. And we had really only allotted a certain amount of our finances for getting certain equipment. And here we were going to have to split and both get equipment to try to do these types of things on our own. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. I'm not on my desktop, so I'm not sure. Has anybody joined us yet?
Let's see. We got Kate and Mike are with us. Hi, Kate and Mike.
Hi.
And she says hi to you, but not me. Wow. Thanks, guys. And she gave us a little bit of feedback. Kirsten is a little pixelated. Yeah, she's out in the and there's Pam. Hiya. Kirsten is out in the sticks.
I think that I'm having an issue with the feed out here, because I am dealing with a remote connection, but then also there's the issue that I'm on a wireless connection and the storm is rolling in.
Yeah.
So I think it's just monkeying with my feed. I feel so bad for everybody. I hope they can hear me okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine. I'm not seeing too much of a lag in your voice or anything as well.
Okay.
So you're looking good. And then Kate
right.
gave us some emojis.
All right, good. Well,
yeah.
As long as they could see one of us, that's good.
Oh, you're good. We got you. Yeah, just it's not real bad. I mean, I can make out your face. You don't look like the Elephant Man or anything. So.
Oh my gosh! And I spent all this time on my pandemic hair.
Right.
So
okay.
speaking of the pandemic itself, and kind of segueing into that, the fact that that we are finding ourselves in the midst of a pandemic while we're talking preparedness, I guess, is maybe a good thing, I suppose, because I don't know about you, it's really made me look at where I was at with my preparedness, changes that I'm going to be going forward, and it's kind of shed a little bit of light on what I was doing. And did I stock enough toilet paper? Did I buy enough chickens? Those are the big questions, right?
What was up with the toilet paper?
So
come on, I don't get that.
I don't know.
Don't
there are alternative methods.
Yeah, there are. I mean, back in the day before we had toilet paper, we had family cloth. I mean, I'm prepared for, a good solid year, but I don't buy any more than like a brick of Costco toilet paper at the time. If that runs out, I'm moving over to family cloth. It takes up too much room. I mean, I can see these people like buying 4 and 5 bricks of toilet paper. It's like, what have you got, a shipping container that you're putting all this stuff in?
How much are you eating? Right. That's what I want to know. What are you eating that you need that much? Come on. No, I think that it was Backwoods Home posted, or no, Backdoor Survival. She posted a sprayer bottle, one of those pump sprayer bottles.
Oh, yeah.
With the wand, and she has a little fix for heating it up and kind of bending it so that it can be made into a portable bidet, basically. It's actually a really good tutorial, and it's a much better method than buying 5,000 cases of toilet paper.
Right. Maybe we should put that up on the page, on the website.
Yeah, we probably should. I mean, I think any woman that's probably had a kid and has been sent home from the hospital with those little episiotomy bottles or whatever they are, the little squirt bottles for women, same thing. So, your wife has hung on to it for the last 10 years since the kids were born. So dig it out.
What's that?
The guys are like, what? Just ask the wife, ask a friend that's had a kid. It takes care of business for you. So it's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. I had mine C-section, but I got educated. Right. But that backyard survival or backdoor survival link is really good. We'll see if we can find it and put it up there for folks, because that's much easier. Just pump your spray bottle, keep it by the toilet, take care of your business. Actually, it's better for you anyways, technically. I don't know why we even use toilet paper so much here.
Yeah. It is a little weird, but we digress.
But we do this. So if you're new, just so you know, the real reason that we started this channel is because Les and I like to chitter chatter, and we'll chitter chatter until the wee morning. So we'll go off on a tangent. Yeah, welcome to our world. It's our world.
We do get in the weeds. That's another reason this has taken a while. But we did our pre-show, and it's like we spent 2 hours not talking about the show.
I think so. I really do think so. It was pretty funny. I was hiding in my car. Yeah. No.
Yeah, you were hiding. You were doing a car rant.
It was. Yeah. So chicks, seeds, and toilet paper. I mean, chicks and seeds are really the new toilet paper right now. Since we're on that topic, we might as well just throw it out and start discussing it. Yeah. Everybody is buying chickens and seeds right now. I think we might see it slowing down maybe a little bit. But the reality is folks realized, whether they were in a backyard situation or they had a couple acres, that they wanted to be a little bit more secure in their food source. So whether they had a pantry or scratch cooking or not, they really wanted to be able to have some food security. And chickens are just that. They're going to take 6 to 8 months to produce eggs, but we just saw ducks, chickens, boom. On the first few days, we saw let's see, the feed store sold out in like 3 hours, the first order that they got. I called back the next shipment and say, hey, how'd your chick supply look today? And he goes, we sold out in like the first 30 minutes.
Wow.
So
That's
that was
crazy.
how much it had changed in a week. Was just crazy.
That's
so
nuts.
And now the seed companies are back ordered several weeks. I just ordered some seeds to have for next year, some varieties that I was running low on, and I ordered some, and it was going to take 6 to 8 weeks to fill my order, which is fine. I don't need them, but it's just kind of an interesting feel for the way things are going. And I am hopeful that people will take this forward and continue to do this into the future, not just this year or next year or the next 3 or 4 years. I hope that they do this always. Like our grandparents and our great grandparents started victory gardens, and they continued that tradition. At least mine did, until the day they could no longer work the garden. And I hope that these folks do the same.
Yeah.
So.
And even, there was an article that I saw on a family in the dead center in the middle of Los Angeles. And, if you know LA, backyard space, it's not that big there. I mean, real estate's at a premium. But these people on their postage stamp size backyard built a garden, mostly vertical, that fed them, and with, a surplus. So, it's doable as long as, you plot it out right. And they had goats and, garden, rabbits. Rabbits are another good meat producer. I mean, they breed like crazy, so that's, if you have a small footprint, to work with, that's also a good alternative, as well as, a couple chickens here and there.
Right, absolutely. If you can have a honeybee hive, if you can have a few rabbits, some breeding pairs, and you can have your chickens or ducks, rabbits don't make really as much noise as a chicken, especially when they're laying an egg. Not that rabbits lay eggs, but when rabbits are doing their thing, they don't make as much noise as a chicken does. So, we started out with chickens and rabbits out here years and years ago when my parents moved out from California, and they're easy to keep, and there's some health considerations, but I think it should be people's first entry into meat producing, is not just chickens, but they should think about rabbits as well. It's just hard because they're so darn cute.
It is. It's tough,
Yeah.
That's a whole nother. But we're obviously this is just the starting out point for us. I mean, we're going to get more and more content up, and it'll be on the group page, but it'll also be mirrored to the website as well.
Right.
So
yeah. Thank you. We did start the website. We got that rolling. We're getting the YouTube channel up, and I'll have all that stuff linked on the Facebook. There should be a ticking banner at some point of the website address. There it is, or it will be coming up at the end as well. And the link is also in the Facebook group. And so when we publish blog content, it'll come up there. We publish a video, it'll go up there as well. So we've got a couple of ways that we can get content to people, and hopefully get them doing these kinds of things that we're talking about and tuning in, so we can have these discussions. And one of the things I did want to hit on before we kind of moved on is the idea of a working pantry and getting that annual garden going. And if those are topics that people want to talk more and more about that, I hope they leave questions, comments, or suggestions, especially at the end of the video. If they can think of anything, just go to our Facebook group, add those in there, because we want to hear about them. I think people really want to be more self-reliant, and that's our goal, is to help them get them there.
Kate chimed in, combination meat and dairy goats. Kate and Mike have long, had a working mini farm, and have had goats, pigs, and chickens, and so that's a good point of meat and dairy goats as well.
I have a long-standing not friendship with goats, so I don't know that I would get goats, but the great thing is they're small. They're smaller than a dairy cow, and they're versatile. They're easier to deal with than a sheep when it comes to milking, because you can milk some sheep, but it's not something a lot of people want to deal with. Dairy goats tend to be more easily trained that way, and they're a super dual purpose animal in a compact space, more than a compact, like a Scottish Highland cow, so
Right.
or steer.
So what was
Yeah.
you want to cough up what it was with the goats there?
Yeah, my gosh, my childhood best friend, her grandfather had a billy goat that was tied up in the middle of a field and randomly moved around the place to keep weeds down. And he wasn't mean. You could pet him, but my God, you would smell. You would smell for like, you would have to just go swimming in the creek all day to get the smell off you. And he was just gross. He was just the grossest thing. And forever that is burned into my brain with goats. And I can't do goats. I just can't. They were always fighting with them. And he was never mean to us kids, but I watched him butt my mom's friend. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
So yeah, there can be a handful, but when you talk about a really good homesteading animal, they always come up for a real good reason. And there we go.
Yeah,
She knows.
yeah, she does. She does. And I've like, when they were off doing, their a yearly event thing that they do have farm sat a few times, and they're interesting little creatures. They get stuck. They get their horns stuck in things.
They do. Well, yeah, because they're always trying to get out.
Twist their head, and it's like, oh, I don't want to hurt it, and it's like, no, you're not going to hurt it.
Not going to hurt it. And they're durable.
Yeah,
Let's just
very,
say that.
very.
So, and you have to like goat milk and goat cheese, and I can't. It doesn't work for me. And I've tried it fresh. My friend's got goats, and she's like, "You haven't had my goat milk." Yeah, no,
Yeah.
But when it comes to survival, if I needed a compact animal, that's the one I would choose for sure.
Yeah, versatility wise, and I mean, you can do that on just next to nothing as far as property goes. They don't take up any space at all. So that is a good one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we should go into a little bit of pandemics. Differ from immediate disasters, because I mean, I've been through earthquakes, flash floods, raging fires, civil unrest. I went through the LA riots. This is my first pandemic, and it's just set my head upside down. It's like, it's such a slow creeping situation, and it just keeps building, as opposed to like an earthquake or something like that, where boom, it snaps you into action, and it's going to have a specific duration of time, until everything's rebuilt. This is, we've been at point A and just figuring out what's going on, and then it starts to increase, and now we got a shelter in place, and all the businesses closed down, and they're thinking about opening things back up, and it could spike again, and we could go back into a shelter in place situation. I mean, you just don't know.
Right.
And it's been an eye-opener on one hand, and it's also brought up different challenges on how to prepare. Basically, this is a lot more financial as opposed to just your natural disasters. For natural disasters, I mean, everything's pretty much basically the same regardless of who you are. You're going to need food, and you're going to need medical supplies, and this is more individual because it has impacted us financially so bad. And again, don't know how long it's going to go on, which is the scary part about this.
Right. We haven't had this in our lifetime. Like you said, we've had earthquakes. We've seen how earthquakes are dealt with. We've had flooding. We've had a myriad of natural disasters, but we haven't experienced a pandemic here on this scale, as far as with lockdowns and the isolation. This is new territory.
It is, and financial preparedness is probably the most difficult to deal with. But we're gonna get off into a little bit of that later. We don't know how far this is going to go, and our strategies have to be different for this, and in some cases it's again, since it's so individual, it's going to be easy for some. I mean, if you've got a decent savings and things like that, you're pretty much, you can spread things out. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, I mean, this is hitting you really hard, boom, immediately, and it's tough. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to figure out. So that's
it's tough in that regard. And then also I worry about those folks when it comes to the recovery aspect,
Mm-hmm.
because those that do have a small pantry and a little bit of storage tucked away, or a little bit of income, that's dwindling pretty fast. And how do you restock your pantry as you go? Because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't know how long this is going to last. Are we going to have a second wave hit? Are we going to have a third wave hit? Are
Mm-hmm.
we going to have more shortages? There's so many things, like you said, we just don't know. That when you're already on a very small budget, how do you start making gradual increases to your pantry when you're already kind of digging into it? That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and the other thing too is like, we don't know. It's like, you know, since it differs from state to state, you know, the impact, you know, could change as well, because, you know, currently, I mean, I really haven't seen it too much, but, you know, they're saying, you know, the meat shortage, because, you know, so many of the processing plants aren't operational.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, California is like, I just heard recently, it's like they're supposedly going to be in lockdown till August, where we're supposed to be here in Oregon up and running back in what, June, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a call from my dentist today stating that my appointment that's coming up in 2 weeks was not canceled, and that they were planning on seeing me.
Wow.
And it's just it's just my routine cleaning.
Right.
So it's not even, you know, anything that needs to happen. It's just routine. And she said, yeah, no, we're making precautions and we're doing all the things we have to do. And
there you go.
We'll see you then. So, okay.
Yeah, there's just
we'll
there's no playbook for this, you know, in terms of, you know, how we have to respond. And, you know, I think we're kind of making it up as we go along in some areas. But again, you know, this is a good time. If you have been preparing, this is probably a good time to look into what's lacking right now, you know, and how can we do something different, you know, later on. So I mean, I think that's important.
Right.
So
should we talk isolation?
Yeah, we can talk isolation. That's a big thing. A lot of people are, you know, dealing with it for the first time. I mean, me being a kind of a homebody and a video game addict, I'm always isolated. So it's not a thing for me.
Yeah, I am one of those people that shared the meme that said, like, when isolation is basically your life, you just, like, it carries on. It's just a normal part of your life. Everybody's flipping out because they got to watch their kids, or they got to homeschool them, or they got to be with each other all day long. And I didn't even think admittedly about that, because you know, my husband and I owned a business and worked together for years and years and years. So we were always used to being in each other's space. And then I'm always home with the kids. So for us, it made zero difference to us, other than we missed a few play dates, missed a few doctor's appointments. But I have noticed that it has caused a lot of tension and a lot of problems in people's lives to be so isolated. And they're turning to social media, and they're turning to these online events and more online classes to try to ease that isolation a bit. And that is probably one thing where we're really lucky to be in this time to some degree, because we are so connected, if we choose to be, with social media platforms. So, you know, they can connect with live chats. They can do online yoga. I think it was like Beachbody or one of those groups gave away a bunch of free, like, you can just look at all their classes for free and take them if you want.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's so many businesses that are doing that as a way to, sure, it's good PR for them, but they also recognize that it's a little less likely to get on each other's nerves if we have something to do. So, yeah.
It's a great time. You know, it's really a good time because, you know, like you're saying, you know, a lot of these places are, you know, offering up their services at either minimal or no cost. But again, you know, YouTube is just a really good platform for, you know, learn something new. You know, it's one of those things that can, you know, maybe burn away some of the some of the downtime that you have, or feeling isolated. But again, things like Skype, start organizing meetups with your family and friends. Just kind of do it regularly, especially if you're it's harder for those people that are extremely social, and especially if they've moved from a work at home environment and they're used to being around the office and people, and then just boom, all of a sudden you're alone. Or you may live alone, you may not be married, you may not have a family, and I came to push my personal enjoyment, but gaming is great. I mean, I talk to people all over the world all the time. I don't see them face to face, but it's a level of social interaction that works for me. It may not work for everybody, but I mean, it's a good time to have to be in this kind of situation. The benefits that we have are massive. So
right. And it's a good time to look into the preparedness community, and that doesn't mean you go to the Doomsday Prepper website. It just means that you look at the homesteading pages, you look at the canning pages, you look at all those groups, and you start to talk to them and start to participate in their events and learn some skills at the same time. I am not a real big fan of just kind of mindless idleness, even though probably it would be good for me at times to disengage and do something different. But right now I'm just really driven to learn. And now is a good time to do that because there's some downtime. I kind of wonder why everybody has time to bake bread. I don't have that much time. Everybody's doing bread baking and roasts challenges, and I just am trying to keep my kids alive and keep my garden weeded. But
right.
But it is a good time to find those groups now and start participating in those live events and ask questions, be engaged.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge, especially if it's something that you're new to. I mean, it's like, Kate and Mike, I mean, they've got this stuff down. Anybody with home small farms, or you're not even a small farm. You got you pretty large farm that you've got going on. So, but it's reach out, like you said, reach out to people, ask questions. That's just huge, and no question is a dumb question. It's the minute that you stop asking questions and you start just, asserting, like the GI preppers and stuff, we were going off about that. It's, beans, bullets, and Band-Aids.
Yeah. They should have put beards in there, tactical beards.
Tactical beards.
You can pull a machete out of his beard and be like, I'm ready for the end of the world. That's just not me.
It's not real. It's like, I'll even see, people that, that you come across, and, we were talking about this where they said, well, I'm just going to take other people's stuff.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
I look like a mom, but I am not just a mom. And now I got a tractor. I can bury the proof.
That or get pigs.
Gosh.
I don't even know how much of that is really trolling, or if that's, people are serious. Because that's the other thing, like, gosh, with the internet, sifting through the garbage, but I honestly, over on the Good to Go page, I've booted people for that stuff. It's like, you're not going to be here. And it, and I have a really hard time with that, because I don't like to, censor people, but if that is my one rule over there, is like, if you're not going to be a constructive part of the conversation, and I'm not talking about, just joking around, but if you're really going to try to derail everything all the time to some ridiculous premise, you can't be here, because, we've got a lot to do, we have a whole lot to do, and it's,
I won't mess with it either. I hear you. Yeah. I just boot them. I've heard a long time struggle with the idea of booting people, because I felt like it brought some diversity to the page, and different thoughts are good, and it gets everybody discussing things. But I just find that some things bring people down on such a nasty level that it is no longer conducive to constructive talk. Like politics. I don't like politics on my page. It isn't that I got a political opinion or two, just trust me. But I don't want it on the page, because I want people from left, right, center
Yeah.
to focus on their preparedness and not on the politics of things. Just like COVID. I don't mind talking about COVID and how we got here and what's going on, but I don't want to talk about the politics surrounding it at this point, because I don't want people to be turned off and say, she's this or she's that. And I don't want to do prepping anymore with these kinds of people. My like-minded people are preppers, people that understand that food security and that traditional living skills are important to have. Those are my kinds of people, politics aside.
Right.
And so I'll boot those people the second they bring out the politics, because I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, true. Kate asked a good question: that has social isolation made trolling worse? I honestly think it has to some degree. Because people are bored.
Yeah.
It's like to just go to the lowest common denominator, and I think to some degree it has made it worse. Which is a shame. I mean, because Kirsten and I were talking about this. It's like, the internet itself is probably one of the greatest inventions ever. And I know that's a big statement, but it really is. And, I just think of the waste that goes on. It's like, I do more like diverting from that and trying to find something decent than just sitting down and just going over all of the good stuff. I mean, it's hard to find decent content.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, I think that's why one of the reasons why I transitioned to starting to make more of my own content, and why I think I was ready to, when I kind of like, hey, we should maybe do this thing. What do you think? I was way more open to it, because I'm tired with the amount of the same repetitive trash that's out there for preparedness. I'm tired of the machete reviews all the time on which one's going to behead a zombie quicker. I'm tired of it. So I think that this isolation has brought out the worst in people to some degree. They're getting irritable. It's getting noticeably more irritable. We're close to an election, and that never helps. That brings out the worst in people as well. And people are emboldened by the anonymity that being online gives them. The things that they would say to you online. Like, I had one woman one time, because I put my son, I allowed him at like 2 years old to put on his sister's little tutu, right? So that made me all kinds of screwed on head backwards. I'm a civil justice warrior weirdo. I mean, she lost it on my page because of that. I guarantee you, if that woman saw me in public with my son like that, she would never open up her mouth and say that. But she felt emboldened on online media to do that for some reason. So I think it always brings out the worst in people, but even more now. Some folks are just highly on edge for a variety of reasons, and it's made trolling really awful.
Yeah. But see, the good thing is like, creating a space for that not to be acceptable, I think is, one of the things that I endeavor to do. And I even like to, bring other, preparedness people that are rational and reasonable in, and just try to, I mean, it's not gonna take over and completely eliminate all the crazy, but just try to make a really good solid place where crazy isn't welcome.
Right.
Because it just isn't.
I got enough of that in my life already. I don't need any more crazy.
Oh, this is another good question. Kate rocking the questions. Do you think extreme predators are driving buying trends? I don't have any data on that. I do know I am shopping more because I am home. Amazon is loving me right now.
I think that the media plays a huge role, and I'm not going to politic. I'm just going to say that I think that when talking points on the media world get going on meat shortage and egg shortage or whatever the crisis is of the moment, that makes people run out and start doing X, Y, and Z without a doubt. And that's human nature.
Right.
We're kind of lucky where we're at. I haven't seen it get real bad. I've seen no fist fights over food, no fist fights over anything. Some nasty little comments here or there. But generally speaking, it's not digressed to a real bad level, but we're not in a highly populated area either.
Well, and the thing about people that do live a prepared lifestyle, even if you're like lower tier, you're just getting started and stuff, being prepared, you're kind of immune to those panic attacks. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about food. My freezer's stocked. My dry goods are
Right.
stocked. I don't have to worry
Right.
about it. I was right when the toilet paper crazy happened, I was sitting on a brick of, Costco toilet paper. I still have a couple rolls left, and now you're starting to see toilet paper again. So,
Yeah.
being prepared, there is a level of comfort and security behind it that it just you can't beat it. I mean, there's just stuff that I flat out do not worry about. You know,
Right.
it just
Right.
can't phase me because I'm ready for it. You know,
Right. And
so
it's such a calming effect when you
it
are
is.
not having to participate in that. It's just, I
Yeah,
have not panicked 1 second. I've been worried. I've had worried moments that I've turned to my husband and went, should we, did we, are we? Um,
mhm,
and he thinks I'm crazy anyways. So it's just one of those things that you are approaching every day in a calmer space, I guess,
right.
because of that. So
And that's a good point to move over into financial preparedness. The part of this that is not I am not calm about, because it's a level of preparedness that I'm not really flush on. The financial end, it's like I'm doing okay, but if it gets worse, I could be in trouble.
right.
you know and there isn't a lot of help out there, like for people's mortgages and stuff. They're saying, oh sure, yeah, you can defer, we'll let you slide for 3 months, but as soon as all this is over, we're going to want that 3 months immediately, instead of like tacking that on to the end of your loan. It's like you're going to be okay for a while, but then boom, the hammer's going to come down, and that's really, really scary. I mean, I got lucky that, what I do, and, we moved to a work from home situation. So we weren't laid off, and, we could continue to work. But we are seeing, businesses starting to slow down for our clients. So they're kind of asking, hey, can you take some time off? We need to cut back a little. And it's like, man, if this goes on much longer, it could be like, we may have to start laying people off. And so that's an area that I'm starting to think about. What can I do now? And I found some articles and compiled a document. It's up on the page. Um, I do want to illustrate, neither Kirsten and I are financial advisors. We don't claim to be. The information that we're sharing here is just in good faith from the individuals that were pulled from the articles. And anytime, before you do anything, reach out to your financial advisors. Like, I don't have a CPA. Well, go to your bank.
Right.
They'll answer questions for you. Um, Things that are really, really important to do now, especially if you live on a razor's edge: make a budget. Gosh, I know it's just so hard to make a budget sometimes, but just do it. Get all your bills together and stuff. See where you can cut down. Um, cut back on. It's like, do you need satellite or cable? Go streaming. It's a lot cheaper.
Yep.
You
Yep.
may find I cut the cable a long time ago and won't go back. And it wasn't even a money thing. I just got tired of it, and
Yep.
found that live streaming is like Netflix, Hulu. That's got all my entertainment down for just a fraction
Right.
of the cost. To see about getting extra work. There's a lot of work from home opportunities right now that people can do, or Uber, Grubhub, things like that. Those are kicking in because restaurants are utilizing that service more. So definitely check out the financial preparedness article that we put together. We should put that up on the website as well. But it's
Okay.
definitely on the group page, and it goes into more detail. I don't want to go into a lot of it because your eyes could roll back in your head on some things. But
Yeah.
that's just a few bits that I thought were critical, that you can look at now. Hopefully, to maybe offset some of the hard times that are coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm certainly not a financial planner. That I'll be upfront and tell you that the husband does all of that. He's the mind behind that, and I'm the one that plants the seeds and grows the things and makes things nice. That's what I do. But thankfully we were in a position where he could work from home, and I was already not dependent on my job any longer when I'd made the transition to staying at home with the kids. So it made a huge difference, but we were always nervous that if he loses his job, what's our backup plan? And our backup plans are well in place and ready to roll if we have to. But I worry about those folks that have limited options, and I worry about those folks that may not be getting their jobs back. If the longer this drags on, where are we going to be at? What are we looking at? And so the question is, how does somebody who has a very small income, maybe they've had to transition to taking unemployment paychecks because their job has been laid off, what are their options? What are we looking at to prep for those people? Because prepping on a dime is being able to maximize the dollars that you have and put them where you need to is huge right now.
Yeah. And it's like, especially if you're, like over 25, I mean, it may kind of sting, but if you've got extra space in your apartment or house, get a roommate. I mean, it can go a long way to kind of offset some of your costs. It's a tough pill to swallow, but man, if you're on the razor's edge, maybe start looking at something like that now.
Right.
And somebody might be in a situation where they're living in an apartment and they can't make their rent, but together you can. You just don't know, until you ask. And it's there shouldn't be any shame in it. That's the other thing. I mean, living paycheck to paycheck is a situation that a lot of people have to deal with. And just approach it with just you're going forward, you're making a plan, you're doing something active, and that will also help alleviate some of the angst. If you're actively doing something towards making the situation better, that can mitigate some of that horrible feeling that you've got going on behind it.
Right. Yeah, those are really good points. I think that even when this starts to maybe normalize as far as we open back up again, all states are open and running. I think we're going to have lost a lot of businesses now. And as we make that transition and months after, they just might have a hard time recovering because people are not going to be eating out as readily as what they did before. But those Grubhub and those delivery services are going to still be utilized. So sure. I think it's a good time that people be thinking about if they can pick up something like that. It's not a swallow the pride a little bit, and do what you have to do to survive.
Yeah. Someone's name isn't coming through here. Whoever gave us the question, that's great. They're saying, one upside some of the topics on non-preppers' radar has been something to consider. I've been asked some very thoughtful questions by friends about stocking up on foods and dry goods. Yeah, help out. What we can do as preppers is, man, I see some people that they're self-professed preppers, and someone asks a question and they just get down on them. Right. We need to be good stewards of all of this. We need to help people. That's my main drive. It's not just you doing it, Kirsten, or me doing it. We need to help each other. If you've got a plan or something that's worked, share it with somebody. If somebody comes, if they get the guts up to ask you a question, first of all, thank them for asking. It's like, hey, that is great. I am glad you decided to come to me. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Right. I saw a lot of things that I thought was really disappointed when this happened. A lot of people went, ha ha, I told you so. And it's fine to kind of joke and kid a little bit about that, like, I was right. Yeah. But on the second hand, when you take it too far and you're telling people, like, you're getting kind of nasty about it, like you're getting what you deserve type of attitude, I don't like that so much, because all that does is it turns completely the opposite, that people don't want anything to do with it. It's now left a bad taste in their mouth. Instead of, like, if you decide in the future that you want help with getting more prepared, just let me know. I'm not a doomsday prepper is what I say. I'm just a self-reliant person. I want to live a better self-reliant life. I'll probably never be off grid living in the middle of nowhere, but this is what I'm focused on, and I'm happy to help you. So much so, I created a website. So much so, I partnered with a friend to find avenues to bring you this information. I want more preppers to have that same attitude. help people, because you don't want them coming up on your doorstep in a dire emergency. I mean, you'll help them, I hope, but if you can help them be prepared now, the likelihood of them depending on you and depending on public safety resources later on down the road in a true emergency is all the better. I don't want to be a strain on first responders. I don't want to be a strain on the system, the hospitals. I want to be as self-sufficient as I can in case an event like Cascadia occurs, which is a reality for us. Having a mega earthquake occur where we're at is a very real possibility. If I can be as self-sufficient, I don't need to rely on those resources. So somebody that maybe couldn't be as self-reliant as I am, they have those resources. Shelve the attitude and help people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I freely admit I did have to share a meme over on the Good to Go page. It's like, hey, it's a little bit of an I told you so, but it wasn't, it wasn't from a nasty avenue. It's like, see, it can happen, this is happening now. And, this is why we do what we do. And it's funny to me because the word prepper, this isn't a new concept. People used to just live that way,
It was called life.
Yeah, prepping is something that we have forgotten how to do. So it's not some new invention. It was what life was like before there was Walmart, or Costco.
Which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it really isn't. That's just the way people lived. And so I like to, remind people of that because it's not some weird alien concept,
No.
It just isn't.
So here's something that always chaps my bottom, and I'll just say, I don't like it when people say, I want to learn old-fashioned skill. These old-fashioned skills and these old-fashioned notions and these quaint little old-fashioned ideas, they're not old-fashioned. Old-fashioned is something that is out of date and isn't used. And like the wooden-sided wagon is an old-fashioned transportation. Old-fashioned is not what we do. Traditional skills are still being used every day, all throughout this country, all throughout the world. Food dehydration, food curing, preservation through pickling and fermenting and canning is the norm. It is not old-fashioned just because city folk first came out here and realized there's a whole new way of doing things. It's not old-fashioned. We're still doing this. We're still doing it, and we're trying to show people how to do it. I get so fired up when I hear old-fashioned. I always know when they say that it's city folk that came out here and discovered the joys of canning, which I love, but it's not old-fashioned. You're doing something or you're learning something that's a traditional skill that's still employed today.
Yes.
So you can do it. It's at the county extension. You can go to your university and they'll show you how to get started in canning. You can get free classes everywhere. You can get free online information. You can buy the blue canning book or whatever it's called. And you can get started, and it is so easy. You probably have a neighbor or a family member that's doing it already that's willing to show you. They only have to show you how to can strawberry jam once, and you're going to be canning everything from now on. Thanks, Kate. We got to just bring Kate on.
Yeah, that's it. Add her to the stream.
We're just going to add her to it. We're going to talk small dairy farming, and we're going to bring her on.
Yeah, that's it. You've just been put on notice, Kate. You're going to be on the next. They're going to be on the next show.
Yep. So these skills, learning how to knit, learning how to sew, learning how to darn, learning how to chop wood. What is a cord? How much is it? What does it look like? What is an acre? How to do all these things. These are just how we live.
Animals.
Yeah. I used to wonder for the longest time when I started Survival Betty, people go, can you show me how to can that? Can you show me how you dehydrate this? And I just thought, who wants to see that? Everybody knows how to do that. And it wasn't until time went on I realized that no, not everybody does, because not everybody's mama showed them how to cook from scratch. Not everybody's grandma showed them how to can food. And unless somebody shows you, those things are very scary. So back to the modern era, all that's online. All of that's out there. And I know you and I are more dedicated to getting those traditional skills, whether they be wilderness survival or they be homesteading self-reliance skills, getting those to people. I'll go on a tangent.
No, that's cool. I saw a great video on how to can over a campfire, as long as you've got your pressure cooker. I'll be honest, I've canned a couple of times and I'm just going to be straight up with it. It's a lot of freaking work. It's hot work. It's hard work.
Tremendous.
It's and you're not doing like, oh, maybe a couple of quarts of beans or maybe a couple of quarts of beets. No, you're doing 10 or 20 quarts of one thing. You know, it's not a, and it's like, oh my God.
If you're going to pull all that stuff out, you're going to do it and get it done. Yeah. When I can spaghetti sauce, it's a big event. So, but that's why it's so great to have a neighbor or a friend that does this, because you can work together. When my grandma was alive, her and my grandfather would get together and can all the time, and they would spend days doing it. My grandpa would make a big pot of chili, and it was a big effort that they did together. And having those resources and having a friend that does it makes a world of difference. If you can get together and say, let's do green beans at my house, let's do pickles at my house, and share those resources, you'll learn something and you'll lighten the load. There's a reason why our grandmothers worked together in teams with other moms and other women, because it lightened the load.
Yeah. Because it's an eye opener. And, you know, again, I can see that's kind of tough for somebody that maybe does live alone. It's like, no, you're not going to go through that. And one of the great things about this modern age is there are alternatives. I really am moving more towards freeze-dried foods because it's lighter. So if something did happen that you do have to, like, let's say the forest around me starts burning down, I've got to leave home. I'm going to get a heck of a lot more, you know, pound for pound with freeze-dried meals that I've got packed up and, you know, heading out to somewhere than I am moving canned, you know, jars of food.
Well, you make a good point, because here's the difference between when you're talking about pantry and food storage. You have your short-term pantry, which are the things that you're always using within a few days or a few weeks perhaps. And then you have your midterm storage, which would be like your canned goods and home canned goods specifically, and your dried foods that you've created. And then you have your long-term storage, which really truly is best done using a freeze dryer, because that food keeps, if provided that it's properly packaged, it will keep for years and years and years. And that's long-term food survival. And it's also good for short-term, and it's also good for midterm, because it's so portable. And no, that's my investment this year for sure, because it's hard to ignore it as a good investment for food security.
It was a freeze dryer, home freeze dryer.
Yeah, home freeze dryer. Yeah. Thank you. I get ahead of myself, and my
my
brain talks, and my mind is on a different plane, of course. So
and it's Harvest Right, I think, is the only company right now actually that's putting them out to an extent where it is affordable. You know, you can put a down payment on one. They're expensive. I mean, just right now you're looking at $3,000 to $4,000. You know, but they at least have a layaway option, because buying freeze-dried foods is really expensive. And, you know, but that 25-year to 30-year shelf life, especially like for someone my age, it would last me until I could buy a year's worth of freeze-dried food or make a year's worth, and it's going to last me, and I would have to do it once, you know, and then just never do it again. I mean, because I am getting that point in my life.
Absolutely. And think about food restrictions. If you have a food restriction, if you have a food allergy, or if you're keto like you and I, it's hard. You can buy keto freeze-dried meals, but they're going to be kind of expensive. So how great to be able to make a little extra of a keto meal and be able to freeze-dry the leftovers. And then you've got a freeze-dried keto-friendly meal for in the future. So no, it's worth it.
Yeah, there's a company out now, Next Mile, that do keto backpacking pouches, and they are spendy. You know, they're like $14 for a meal, which honestly, you know, they don't have the fillers, you know, the beans and the rice and the pasta, so it is going to be more expensive. But you would go out and spend $15 on a meal, you know, out, you know, that's pretty low level, you know, on the cheap, even if you go out. So, you know, I equate it with that, and it's not that bad. You know, and Kate's saying, remember dehydrators. Yeah, I still have one. The thing that I don't like about dehydrators is you are cooking the food. So you do lose some nutritional value. And, you know, their shelf life isn't quite as long.
It's kind of midterm, because the reality is, if I take dehydrated foods out into the field, like the kids and I are backpacking, for example, I have to throw in a handful of dehydrated food and I have to wait for it to cook to come back up again. With freeze dried, you got to have more, you got to have water because you got to dump water in, but it really is just a matter of some boiling water, a few minutes, and you're done. Whereas I'm going to use a lot more fuel on my fire, so to say, to try to get that dehydrated food up and running. But I can't beat the fruit leathers, the dehydrated fruit. Those things are just huge midterm and short-term snacks that the kids enjoy, and are such a great way. Like I'm so glad Kate brought this up, because I was thinking about it earlier. You go by Costco, for example, and they're limiting a lot of things that you can buy in the stores right now. So my big deal to people would be really to think about outside, and probably getting off into our next topic, but getting kind of thinking a little bit differently about your food. If you can only buy one package of ground beef, for example, or one beef product, why don't you just go over to the freezer section and get you some pre-made patties of chicken, or some pre-made beef Angus patties? And it may be something that you wouldn't typically eat, but we're not talking about surviving like this for the next 4 years. We're talking about, what do you have to do right now, short term, to make sure that your pantry and your freezers are getting filled up. And that's one way to do it. And the dehydrator is a great tool for that, because you walk through the aisles of Costco, for example, and they have this 2 or 3 pound bag of chopped vegetables that you would maybe throw into a soup or something. That's already that's been flash frozen. It's been steamed. It's ready to actually be dehydrated. So you can take that whole 3 pound bag or whatever it is, spread it out in your dehydrator, and then let it sit until it's dehydrated nice and small. It'll fit in the little quart-sized jar, and you can throw a handful into your soups. You could throw it into your broth with a few noodles, and you've got a soup, just a super quick, handy soup. And you just really can't beat that. So I hope that people are thinking of different ways that they can expand their pantry. Life beyond rice and beans. If you're not eating rice and beans, don't store them. If you like fruits and vegetables, think about how you can get those now, even though they're not growing in the garden or they're available from your local farmer. Think about ways you can get them now and what you can do to store them for later, because you're going to run out of freezer space. So don't use that freezer space for vegetables that you can easily dehydrate. That's the thing I like that for. And so it's a great short-term food. It's a great mid-term food. It'll last you a couple of months. Definitely don't discount the food dehydrator.
Yeah, and what I used to do is, when I was not keto, and I love ramen. They're, not even just, the packages. I mean, those are great for something quick, but real ramen. But what I would do is I would take, corn, peas, carrots, and, little chunks of ham, and dehydrate all those and have them together with a ramen packet, because it turns, it's still pennies, just absolute pennies, and it just turned it into a decent hearty meal. Well, as hearty as as pasta can be, but still it bumped it up another level to where it's, it actually felt like a decent meal. And
boy, we lived off ramen.
Yeah, haven't we all?
It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, I mean, I miss my bean, cheese, and rice burritos. I really, it's just carb bomb. Just,
right. Yeah.
Really
cut bomb. Yeah. Yeah. No, those kinds of little tricks. And like at Costco, I looked because the husband loves his ramen, and I like the Korean kimchi ramen. So they didn't have any of those last time I was at Costco. They were completely sold out of those. And then they were limiting packages of Spam that you could get, and limiting tuna, limiting all of that stuff. It was interesting to watch. But you can absolutely, I hope that people are thinking about restocking their pantries, or if they're not in the preparedness mind right now, that they're thinking about creating a larger pantry. And you don't need to have a big walk-in. I don't have a big pantry. My pantry is literally the size of a broom closet. My dad, who built this house, felt that a pantry wasn't necessary when he rebuilt it. So he built a pantry the size of a broom closet, and I'm a home canner. So you can still do this. You can still build your pantry. Make sure you've got your flour. Make sure you've got all of those small things that you kind of take for granted right now, but might not be here 6 months from now. We might have a pinch in the supply chain where you can't get it. So get the flour. You don't need to get 50 pounds of it because you don't need it going bad. Just get yourself an extra bag when you're at the grocery store. Buy those frozen vegetables and stick them in the dehydrator, like Kate pointed out. There are things that you can do to build your pantry. Make sure you've got your chicken stocks. Make sure you got your beef stocks. If you don't have room in your freezer for a chicken carcass, don't worry about it. You don't have to make chicken stock from scratch because every other blogging, homesteading Wonder Woman is doing it. You don't have to. It's not necessary. It's just find a stock that you like and get it in powdered form, or create your own powdered form if you want. It's super easy to do as well. There are things that you can do. Yeah, bouillon cubes.
Better than bouillon. It comes in a glass jar. It's really great just for making a quick base stock. It doesn't take up a lot of room.
Nope, you don't have to put it in the fridge until you open it, so it's shelf stable until you open it.
Which is also great.
Yep. The nice thing is it comes with a little extra sodium sometimes, so you've got your salt covered as well.
Yeah.
But those kind of small things that you can do now. What am I eating now that I can grab an extra can of soup, an extra can of chili? Don't thumb your nose at something because it's $4 for $1 and it's not something you would normally eat, or it isn't labeled organic. This is not normal times. And maybe you don't want to eat it today, but maybe you need to have it in your storage for tomorrow. Because I'm not psychic. I have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm just going to assume that we're going to keep seeing a narrowing of the supply chain for foods and goods. So gamma lids.
Kate was saying gamma lids for those with room, airtight, great for dry goods. Yeah, just it's a, for those that don't know, gamma lids are for a 5-gallon bucket. It's a ring with a lid that screws into it. So you snap the ring on the bucket and then screw the lid on. They're not watertight, but they're good and solid. Also, just in case people, it's like, well, I'm going to put my stuff out in the garage in 5-gallon buckets. Rats will eat through a 5-gallon bucket. I guarantee.
Yes, they will.
I've had it happen. I've had it happen. I have since moved to 55-gallon barrels, metal barrels. And that's the only thing that's going to keep critters out of your stores. So I can't tell you how much I lost because I had it stored in the garage.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I use the gamma lids only on things that I'm gonna have to be getting into frequently. So I usually keep it on my sugar because I don't really use a lot of sugar, but when I'm canning, I probably am into the big packages of the sugar more often. My salt is all in smaller containers, but I tend to be the one that puts everything in Mylar small amounts, nothing larger than 5 pounds. And then I put them inside my buckets in those Mylar or vacuum sealed bags that are 5-pound quantities and inside my buckets. I don't really, I did once use gamma lids on a bag of oats, and the oats went bad before I could eat them all. So I don't do that anymore, but it's such an easy way to get access to your buckets.
Did you vacuum seal them too, and it still went bad?
No, because I wanted to be able to just unscrew them and get into my oats anytime I was cooking something or doing something. And so I thought that's really great that you could do that. And then everything really went bad really quick. So if it's something that doesn't need a lot of storage care, like a salt or a sugar, you're good to go as long as you keep it dry and away from rodents. But yeah, it didn't. I just went to transitioning everything into small 3 to 5 gallon sizes, and that's how my beans are. That's kind of how everything is now. But a gamma lid is a great way to get into those containers without having to deal with those stupid stinking openers. I hate those bucket things.
Yeah, they really are horrible. Yeah, see, when I was not keto and building up my stores and stuff, I put like rice and everything in smaller, like 2 meal-sized packets, and vacuum sealed them with an oxygen absorber, and they're still pretty good. I am now at the point though where I can't rotate this stuff anymore. So, and I can't donate it to my local food bank because it's something that wasn't sealed on their end. It was
Right.
busted up. So I'm actually thinking, it's like, God, what am I going to do with this stuff? Because it's getting to the time where it's, should start being used. I'm probably going to start giving it out to homeless people. There's really nothing else. I don't want to throw it away.
Right. There you go. Well, Lord knows we have plenty enough folks around here that need it. So
yeah. So,
yeah.
I'm thinking, just got to do it on the DL, because I'm sure there's probably some law somewhere that says you can't do that.
It's the law for everything. I swear.
Don't go there, Leslie. Don't go there. Pull me off the cliff.
I'll just stop it right there.
Pull me off the cliff.
I won't feed into that. I will not allow you to drag me into that with you. Okay. All right. So growing food. I hope that everybody that's watching this has started a garden. I don't care if you are an apartment complex with a balcony that faces north. Figure out how to grow food. You can, I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I have a north facing balcony on my apartment, so I can't even container garden. Bullshit. And I just said it, and I don't feel bad about it, because you can. There are plenty of shade-loving plants, like your kales, like your lettuce, like your chard, like your broccoli, like your cauliflower. There are shade-tolerant varieties that will do okay in that kind of shade. So you're going to have one side of that balcony gets a smidgen more dappled light or something than the other. Or why don't you go ask somebody on the other side of the hall if they would like to start a garden? You've probably got somebody in your complex that you kind of sort of know, and you can say, hey, are you thinking about starting a garden? Oh, no, I just have the balcony. Hey, I'm really good at container gardening. Do you want to grow some things on your balcony and I'll help you? Because I have a shade tolerant. I can throw all the greens on mine. You can throw the tomatoes and the basil and the onions on your side. There's a way to do it. Stop with the whole, I don't have 10 acres, I can't be self-reliant, because that's not true. Like we were talking about earlier, you can be in a suburban area. There are people that run successful $1 million farm CSAs out of their 1 acre homes. So you can do it. It's succession planting, it's crop rotation, it's planting in small spaces, by the square foot gardening method. There's ways to do it. Just start doing it. And if you fail, who cares? You're no worse off for having done it. You've just invested a package of seeds. That's it, and some time. Who doesn't have time right now? So just do it. Start a pantry, start a garden. I hope you're already doing it. If you haven't done it yet, I still see that there are garden starts available in the stores right now. My guess is that everybody puckered a little bit when this started happening, and all the nursery growers ramped up their supply of vegetable starts, and all the stores seem to be ordering more, because I haven't seen any run out yet. So get some stuff, stick it in a container. I am growing elders and willows in containers, for the Lord's sake. You can grow a tomato in a container. You can grow a carrot in containers. Grow something. The other objection I get from people is, well, I can't grow all my food, so I'm just not even going to bother. I don't grow all my food. I don't raise all my own food. I shop at Costco. I'll shop at Safeway down the street if I need to get what I need to get. When the end of the world happens, I'll be 100% self-reliant, because that's the way that it's going to have to be. Until then, I am still a convenience person, and I have no problem going to Safeway and buying my bananas, because I can't ever grow those where I'm at. Just grow something. You don't have to grow everything. Take your favorite food. Take the foods that preserve well. The tomatoes, the potatoes, the onions, the garlic. Those kinds of things preserve really well. Your cauliflower, your broccoli, beans, turnips, everything like that freezes well, dries well, and it's so good for you in calorie-wise. I know it's not our favorite, but you can get your squashes, your winter squash, your summer squash. There's so much you can grow if you just try and you cut the excuses out. Start growing, restock your pantry, and change what you're eating. Think about what you're eating. All that Twinkies, if you only have so much to spend on groceries, maybe the Twinkies go, and you need to buy that big old bag of mixed vegetables to dehydrate instead, because I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So
I gotta give the Twinkie credit for shelf life, though. That's
well,
about
yeah. and just like in Zombieland, everybody wants a Twinkie in a disaster. So it could just lighten the thing, but you don't have to make your own Twinkies. You can go buy them, but I want people to think about what they have in their pantry, what they're eating. And if you're always gotta eat organic and I always gotta eat this way, maybe just consider in an emergency, you need to take it down a notch and you might be buying the non-organic. You might be getting the beef that's raised in Illinois instead of from the guy next door because the guy next door is sold out. Just be willing to be a little flexible for the sake of filling your pantry right now.
Yeah. And also in terms of just growing something, I usually tell people, because start out with tomatoes. Tomatoes are easy. And you're going to be amazed at the taste difference. I'm sorry. I can, store-bought tomatoes, it's just a mouthful of acid for some reason to me. There's just no flavor to anything, Well,
they're hybrids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hybrids so that they grow well.
Yeah, but and they grow like crazy. I mean, you'll be like giving them away to other people. It's like, hey, you need some tomatoes. The other thing too that we were talking about, like on our pre-show, is like, and you kind of touched on it with the neighbor with the south-facing balcony. Do you have a friend or something that has a house and they may have a little more space, but might not be into the whole gardening thing. They might be elderly and can't anymore. Striking a bargain that way. And it's this like, hey, I'll do the work if you let me use the space, and we'll share the harvest with you. That's another option that's good. And and they may know how to do that already and have all that knowledge, but they're elderly and just don't do it anymore. My mom, hellacious gardener, but 87 and just doesn't do it anymore. You want to know how? Go talk to her. She'll tell you how to do it. You'll learn something in the process.
Yeah, that's an ideal situation because they can sit out on their back porch, sipping their tea and giving you pointers all the time about what you're doing and what the problems are that you're encountering. And they're getting the benefit of the fresh fruit and vegetables, which is something that folks need right now.
Yeah.
There's also community gardens. Don't overlook a community garden. That's a great chance to buy a small plot of land or rent a small plot of land. Rather, you could go in with another family so you can care for it together, and you're going to have plenty. You're going to plant, a couple squash, winter squash and summer squash, and you're going to have plenty enough to put up for people. Those kinds of things are huge. Just don't look past the possibilities. Be a problem solver instead of somebody complaining about a problem. There's nothing that's going to make you self-reliant. Self-reliant in thought is going to lead to self-reliant in action. So don't be afraid to educate yourself. Don't be afraid to take the initiative. Be self-reliant in your thinking, and you're going to be self-reliant in your actions.
Yep, definitely. And please ask, again, I mean, I'm not saying we have all of the answers, but if I don't have the answer, I will find it for you. I will sift through the garbage and, the superfluous stuff to find you the right answer.
And somebody in the group might have the answer. That's what I love so much about Facebook. The very thing that annoys me can be the very thing that just has the right amount of information that somebody needs for their situation. Because you and I are in the same climate. We might not have the answer to somebody doing some dry farming in Nevada. So it's well worth it to just ask those questions and do it.
Yeah.
And if you have a spouse that is not on board and thinks that even now you stocking your pantry is crazeballs, just ignore it. Just keep doing what you're going to do. You don't have to broadcast it. Do what I call tactical shopping. So tactical shopping is when you're strolling through the grocery store with your spouse. I don't know why you would take a resistant to prepping person shopping with you personally, but if you find yourself stuck with them and you got to go to the store, this is what you do. So when you're shopping, they've got the cart, they're strolling through, you just go get the things that you need and you just start plopping them in the cart when they're not paying attention. I'm not saying lie. I'm just saying stick it in the cart. So they grab 5 cans of tomato sauce, you pick up a 6th one behind them and you toss it in. You do those little things. 1 extra can of chili. They grab 3 cans of soup. Hey, why don't we grab a 4th one? It's 97 cents. It's 4 for $1. Make those kinds of tactical shopping choices now. Just toss it in the cart, because they're not going to think anything about it. But if you say, let's go buy 25 pounds of flour, they're going to go, have you lost your mind?
Yeah.
But if you say, can we spend an extra $25 on soup and whatever, they're probably not going to notice at all at the bottom end of the bill. So do a little tactical shopping is what I like to call it. Slip that stuff in the cart.
Yep, I like it. Behave like a 4-year-old. When mom ain't looking, off the shelf and into the cart.
Look over there. Shove it in the cart. Yeah, exactly.
How did we end up with 6 boxes of Captain Crunch?
Right. I call it that because I had a friend that used to do that, a coworker. He loved to fish. He was a police officer, and he would fish all the time. And his wife would be like, stop buying fishing stuff. So they'd go to Walmart, and he'd sneak over to the fishing department, and he'd grab his little hooks and the little things that he needed. And when she wasn't looking, he'd toss it in the cart, and he'd be like, it's tactical shopping. So that's where it comes from. Throw that stuff in the cart.
Nice.
So the other thing is, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to talk about scratch cooking. It is time. If you are not already doing it, you need to figure out how to do it. And it has never been easier because there are free cooking classes online. If you can follow directions, you can follow a recipe for cooking. It's that easy. So you don't have to be, what's the guy from Hell's Kitchen? Ramsay or whatever his name is?
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay. You don't have to be Gordon Ramsay to start cooking. Just start cooking more. You'll get farther by taking, if the idea of throwing a whole chicken in your Instapot or in the crock pot is scary to you, then go to the deli section, buy a deli roasted chicken. It's probably going to even cost you less than a whole frozen chicken these days.
Yeah.
Get it, eat on it for a day or two, and then take what's left, throw it in the stock pot, and start making yourself some soup. You'll see tons of recipes on how to do it online, and it is that simple to do. And you'll have soup base and chicken stock to put up for however long. Just do it. It's so easy to do. Yeah. So look at your local extension. They have cooking classes. Tons of super mommy bloggers have got lots of how-to cooking 101s. It's all online. Everything you need is there. Yeah. And just start doing it. The worst that could happen is you burn something. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I mean, that kind of dovetails in with our financial situation as well. You know, it's a no-brainer that cooking from home, you're gonna save money, you know, and especially if you stay away from the more processed things, those are more expensive. I mean, for 2 of us and eating keto, I mean, because we're both on it, I probably spend maybe $300 for an entire month's of food. That's not bad for 2 people, and a lot of
that's cheap.
Yeah, and we're talking a lot of meats, and because we can't, that processed stuff is so ridiculously expensive. Just steer clear of that, and learn to cook. You might even find that you enjoy it. We used to, a friend of mine, we used to have like a group of friends that we'd rotate around people's houses and throw dinner parties where everybody would come and bring something, and we'd all get into the kitchen and cook. I mean, obviously we can't do that right now, but it was just a great social
I want
thing.
in on this deal.
Yeah, it was great. It was the dinner every Friday. We rotate to somebody else's house and just have cooking parties, and it was great.
Yeah.
Oh, and oops, you're pixelating a little bit here.
Yes.
Mike, good point. Learn to trim and break down meats. Yeah, that again is something that you can find out how to do online. There are just tons of YouTube videos from butchers, hardcore butchers. I mean, I started binging them, and 20-30 minute video, and you're breaking down a whole side of a cow. I was like, I mean, granted, I don't have the bandsaw for that, but still, I mean, you can find out how to do that. Yeah, and definitely you get a better price.
Yeah, even breaking down those smaller meats. I was going to say, if you go to, like, first we have Cash and Carry here, which is a restaurant supply. Can you still hear me?
You're kind of roboting on us. Let's give you a second here, maybe, to catch up.
Huh.
Yep. You seem to be moving
Okay.
a little bit better now. Is the storm moving in?
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's getting kind of ugly, but I was going to say, you know, we live where Cash and Carry is a restaurant supply place, and you can buy really big cuts of meat. And like Mike said, learning how to break them down into those smaller cuts, you're going to save so much money by doing that. You don't have to go butcher a whole pig to do it. Just go get your big cut, break it down, look at those videos. Don't be afraid of buying those larger cuts.
I got a really great buy on standing rib from Winco, and you know, I went at it. You know, it's not a real, you know, high skilled thing to do, but my knives weren't great. You know, they weren't sharp enough, and so, you know, the cuts were a little, you know, kind of jagged and staggered. But you know what? It still tasted like a beef rib steak. You know, it just wasn't the prettiest. You know, I'll just know next time I gotta go have my knives sharpened. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. When we're talking about taking those classes online, it's still doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, you kind of.
My feed keeps dropping out.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it still doing it? The wind is kicking up really bad.
Yeah, you seem to be a little bit better right now. You're still kind of pixelated, but you're not stalled out.
Okay. The audio is okay?
Yeah, now it is. You're not quite as robotic as you were.
Okay. One of the things I was that's just me in person.
No.
You know, being active in this.
You just went R2-D2 on us in a big way. In fact, your screen's even frozen up. I'm gonna give her a second here. We're gonna give you a second here to see if you kind of spring back to life. If you don't, we can kind of. I think she may be gonna kind of go out and come back in on this. So I know she's having a hard time there. Should we learn to store fats for our pantry? You know, right now, especially since my life is, excuse me, I'm pulling on my socks here. They're kind of falling down. Right now, since my life is keto, and you know, that's really what I got to live on a lot. I'm pretty much down to one type of fat. Oh, there you go. Leaving and coming back work. Fat-wise, what I do is, you know, fats can be tricky because they can go bad. Right now, I do a mix of, I take macadamia nuts, coconut oil, and then fractionated coconut oil. You put them all together and whip them up in a blender, and it kind of turns into this, well, when it's warm, kind of this liquidy, just fat-laden thing. And, you know, a little quart jar of that lasts me about a month. It's real tricky, you know, storing fats. So you do have to use those and rotate. So that's the only thing I would really, you know, recommend is, yes, buy fats, have them on hand, but use them.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
It's one of those. Is that any better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay.
Oh, and Trudy, canned ghee, absolutely.
She beat me to it.
Hi, Trudy. You got her.
Trudy. Hello, Trudy. Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say is if you clarify that butter and you move those dairy solids out of there, it becomes ghee and it stores so much longer. But you could make things like your lard and melt all that. We could get all into that. Those are a little bit more shelf stable, but it's good to know a dairy farmer, let's just say, whether they're growing dairy goats or they've got cows. It's good to have that source in times like this because the fats can only get so much for so long. I'm addicted to macadamia nuts, and I can't grow those here. So things like that are only going to last for so long. So, great point.
Yep. That's a definite
Um,
rotation thing.
yeah, but your coconut oil will store pretty long, and so will
About a
your
year.
olive oil. So you just get those and definitely add some of those extra ones to your pantry as well.
Yeah. Isn't coconut oil about a year?
Yeah, it depends on how you keep it. I've had it go south a little bit longer, a little bit shorter of a space when the house was really warm, but it does tend to last longer.
Freezing ghee tends to extend the life some. I've never tried to freeze ghee.
I
But that,
haven't. I freeze butter, so I can
yep,
imagine it wouldn't be much different.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That may be something to try. Just as a
yeah, good point.
a little tester thing.
Yeah,
So,
I freeze butter and cheese in the freezer, so I'm sure you could do that too.
oh God, we
So
just
one of the things that
eat it so fast it doesn't stick around the
I
house.
one of the things that I want to talk about is online. Having this amount of time to go and look at those online. Yes, lard and tallow, those shelf-stable fats. Yep, you bet. Um, there's a lot of information on making lard and tallow, how to render it down. It's super easy to do, and uh, we're getting into plenty of time where you have to go to the butcher and say, do you have any leaf lard or tallow, any beef fat available? And you can render it down yourself. It's a super easy process.
Yep.
Even easier if you have a slow cooker.
Yep.
But one of the things that I wanted to say is that look at those online classes. I've got my Wazoo gear on, and I don't get paid to rep them. I'm not a spokesperson for them or anything like that. I just happen to love their products. I'm actually testing out their Viking whetstone right now.
Nice.
And so I am wearing it all the time to kind of see how it's going to work with the oils on the skin, changing it from a water whetstone to more of an oil whetstone. So
Nice.
I like this company, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. They're very forward, progressive thinking people in the industry. They're also always taking classes, which I love, because you never should arrive. Like, whatever your skill set is that you're trying to achieve, you should never actually get there. You should always be in a constant quest for self-improvement or to learn more. Even if you've got the worst instructor in the world, you should be learning something from them. So there's always room to learn. And the thing about Wazoo is they have now up on their website, if you go to wazoosurvivalgear.com, just Google Wazoo, or we can throw a link up for you. They have this thing called the Skill Series, and they have these free 101 videos, like butchering 101 and friction fire 101. They've got knife craft, basically blacksmithing 101. They've got a whole series of stuff that they're throwing up regularly on their website that's totally free and available for anybody. So there's a lot of places that are doing that right now. Get logged in, take those free classes and benefit from them, because you've got some downtime. You might as well. You can either read, what's that novel, like two seconds after, or whatever it's called, the Doomsday Apocalypse stuff. You can either read that, or you can binge watch Netflix, or you can also learn a skill. So, and I kind of say that tongue in cheek because I've been binging a lot of some shows on Netflix, but you can still take that time to learn these skills. So do it. We have access to it now. A lot of it might not be here when this is returned to some sense of normalcy, but they're putting it out there so that we have this information. And Wazoo is one of the companies that's doing it. So check them out. You'll find classes on first aid, on wilderness first aid, fire making. You threw up a good point about ham radio. There's information out there for that.
Yeah, there's there's so much out there. I usually keep first aid at the very, very top of the list. That's kind of one of those things that I think we should all, at least have the very basics. I mean, obviously we can't go take a Red Cross first aid course right now, but that's when we are up and running again. That's really something that's important, especially like, for us. I mean, how long, I mean, it's only like 45 minutes for me to get to the hospital, but still, you know, something really, really, really horrible happens, if I'm out like cutting down a tree or something, I, you know, get a massive laceration and I don't have a tourniquet or know how to use it, you could be dead before you get there, you know?
That's the thought of people not carrying a tourniquet in these day and age, it just flabbergasts me.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully expect to be frisked every time I come over to your place. It's like, where's your tourniquet?
Yeah, get a tourniquet. If you haven't heard my go off on the stop the bleed rant right now, just do it, because get a tourniquet, carry it. It's $25. I carry 2 on me at all times, because I you know, first of all, if I've got something that's going to poke holes in anybody, I want to make sure I have a tourniquet. If I am driving my car, I want to have a tourniquet, because you're much more likely to be in a car accident where you need it.
Right.
Yeah, check your stock. Yeah.
You, I don't know about this. And because I'm not a mom, do you have? Is there a different size tourniquet for kids?
They used to always say don't use the cat tourniquet on the kids. The new generation cat tourniquet works excellent on the kids. I choose to use a cat because I carried it on duty. I did a lot of research, went through the tactical casualty care course for law enforcement, and it's what we used. It's what the combat medic suggested, and I did a bunch of research on it. You and I, we both carry different tourniquets. They're both great tourniquets to carry. But I made sure the first thing I did when I got it is that it would fit for the tiny little arms, and it does. We've actually used them on infants before. So you just do what you're going to do and have something. But in this day and age, I can't stress to anybody enough to keep a tourniquet in your everyday carry, to keep tourniquets in your car, and keep them in your first aid kit in your home, because flat out they save lives. And people say, well, I was a Boy Scout, so I just know how to use a belt. Well, so did I. And guess what? The dude died. So belts are for holding up your britches. This is the modern day world. Get the right tool for the right job. End of story. A tourniquet does a better job at stopping the blood flow, and it is safer for the patient. You'll get it on faster if you don't have to monkey around looking for a windlass that you can create and hopefully doesn't break. If you can poke an extra hole in a belt so it fits an arm, just don't monkey around with it. It's $25. It'll be one of the best investments you ever put in your everyday carry. If you carry a gun, you better have a tourniquet. I'll argue that till I'm blue in the face.
Hell, if you're out working in the yard, when I'm out, if I'm using my chainsaw, guess what's with me?
Yeah, because you know how fast you bleed out.
Yep, and accidents happen. Chainsaw kicks back. I want it with me. You know, it's just one of those things.
If you don't follow the North American Rescue website on Facebook, it's really worth it, because though it is somewhat geared towards medical professionals, EMTs and combat medics and medical professionals, there is a heck of a lot of everyday information. And a video of a landscaper that somehow managed to run over himself with a push mower. So it is these harrowing everyday situations that you think, how did you get there, buddy? But they got there because, you know what? It happens. So yeah, first aid. I don't even know how we got on this rant, but if I'm passionate about anything, it's personal protection and self-reliance. And I don't want to be reliant on somebody to come and figure out how to jerry-rig the belt that I don't have into a tourniquet. So there I am.
Yeah, and this is what we do. And we are being restrained.
I'm passionate about a few things. I'm a passionate woman.
Yep, definitely. Well, we are at an hour 37. I think we should maybe start winding it up a little bit here
I think so.
For folks.
My kids are sequestered in their room, and I think they're over it.
Like her and I mean, we could do this for probably another 8-9 hours and not even bat an eye at it. But you know, so we're gonna try it. We're gonna try and restrain ourselves here. You know, we do want to thank you for watching. Really appreciate you being here, and hope you found the information useful. Please feel free to give us feedback, good, bad, whatever. It's only gonna make us get better. We are going to be doing another show in about 2 weeks. We don't have any topics nailed down right now. So if you have any suggestions, please, give a shout out, do a post, whatever, and we'll definitely take it into consideration. And most importantly, it's important you know that this is your group and we want to be here for you. So, please, no question is too silly. No suggestion will go unnoticed. And, it's, the more you interact with us and help us with this, it will become a better place. It'll become a better place and hopefully more useful to you. So, all right. Well, thank you again. Until next time, take care, be safe, and be prepared. We appreciate you being here. Bye-bye, folks.